I went down a pretty dark rabbit hole here. Last time I made a video about internet pranks and it got me thinking about YouTubers committing crimes. So I decided to make this video and I almost wish I hadn't because things got dark. I thought this would be like a top 10 type video, but it got so crazy and there were so many YouTubers that have committed crimes that I decided to make an entire series of iceberg videos about it. I'm splitting it up into a few parts because if I didn't, this would be so long and it would take me forever to get out. So I'll start with this and get to the other ones soon. I'm going to structure this iceberg as the lower you go, the more dark and disturbing these crimes get. Starting with this video, it's going to be kind of lighter crimes. Some of them are almost funny and they're mostly harmless. Nobody gets fatally hurt. There is some pretty insane stuff though that you won't believe until you see it. If you know my channel, you know I like to joke around, which makes this challenging because as the series goes on, it gets darker and darker, and I'm going to have to joke about some pretty messed up stuff.
That's pretty dark, yeah. That's dark, yeah, it's pretty dark.
But that's okay, there's nothing wrong with dark humor now and then. Not everyone on this list necessarily started on YouTube, but they do have a YouTube channel, and they might have been on other platforms first. It's kind of mind-blowing how many YouTubers have committed crimes. Is there some sort of connection between people who seek attention online and criminal behaviors? Or is it just a normal statistic? What do you think? Anyways, let's get this iceberg started. Ross Creations was a prank YouTuber. He decided one day he wanted to prank two cops by jumping off a picnic table and flipping over them. Credit where credit's due, that was a pretty sick flip. If I tried that, I would have ended up nosediving into the ground and wouldn't be here today. He tried to run away and then the cops proceeded to tackle him into the ground and take him into custody. They eventually released him as I guess there's no law that states you can't do a flip over a cop. Apparently it's not the first time he was arrested either. Ross was arrested and charged with negligence and obstruction of justice without violence and forced to pay an $870 bond. In January, police nabbed him outside of a South Florida mall for giving strangers wedgies.
The idea was just to like give strangers wedgies.
I'm not great with pronunciations of names, so forgive me throughout the length of this video. Ruslan Sokolovsky. He's a Russian YouTuber who creates a variety of content on his channel, mainly commentary type videos. I wish I could tell you more, but they're in Russian, so I don't really know what he's saying. In the last objectively good summer of our lives in 2016, Pokemon Go was all the rage. I used to just chill in my car in a parking lot trying to catch Pokemon. His crime was playing Pokemon Go in a church. He made a video of himself playing in a church in protest of state television, warning you could be charged for doing so. He ended up getting arrested for incitement to hatred and enmity, denigrating human dignity, as well as violating the right to freedom of conscience and religion. He was given a 3.5-year suspended sentence for catching Pokemon in a church. Yeah, I wouldn't even call this one a crime. Trevor Daniel Jacob. This guy was an Olympic snowboarder who was known for doing extreme stunts and posting them on his YouTube channel. The stuff he did was pretty dangerous, but he was usually just putting himself in danger. So fine, whatever. And some of it was kind of cool if you're into that. But he went too far when he decided to intentionally crash his plane. The title of the video was I Crashed My Airplane, and it lived up to the title, which is pretty rare on YouTube. So the video is exactly what it sounds like. He gets in his plane, flies it over a mountain range, and then jumps out and parachutes down. The stunt was extremely dangerous. You never know where that plane's gonna land, and yeah, you're in an empty area, but there could be some random person out there or some small home cottage or something. You just don't know, so that was extremely stupid. The whole walk back, he's talking about how hard it is and how he's hurting. Dude, nobody feels bad for you. You did this to yourself. He then lied to investigators saying that his plane died and he had to bail out, but it was pretty clear from the video that he was lying. Fortunately, no one was hurt, and he was sentenced to 6 months in prison for it. Jack and Jack are Viners turned YouTubers turned pop stars. I use the word stars very loosely here. Jack of Jack and Jack was arrested for shoplifting at an airport. Jack was caught walking out of a store with a sweater that he didn't pay for while Jack was filming. He claimed to the arresting officer that he did it by mistake and that he even offered to pay 3 times the cost of it. So bribery basically. The other Jack recorded the incident as it went down, so that kind of makes me think that maybe this was for social media. I assume they thought they would get away with it, and they might have if he wasn't being a complete dick to the police officer. He was like taunting him and basically asking to be arrested. So he got his wish. The other Jack even went on social media to complain about the whole thing afterwards.
Shit, y'all gotta understand, like, everybody knows G is innocent. Like, the cops were all laughing, like, when he was explaining the whole situation.
Y'all gotta understand.
Y'all gotta understand. Like,
he got bailed out and nothing seems to have come of it. Jack even threw a pine cone at the police station in protest. He's back to making horrible music now. I would love it if this video got more views than his new music video, so please leave a like and subscribe as well if you want. I don't always get a ton of views, but I think it's possible. YouTuber Andre Feiss runs the channel Urban Tourism, which is a channel dedicated to urban exploration. He mostly would explore abandoned buildings and other structures, and he makes a variety of videos, but I don't speak the language, so I couldn't tell you what they're about. It's believed that he was arrested for exploring an active radar system that Russia uses to track missiles. Investigators say Andre Feiss, 37, illegally obtained information relating to the design and technical features of classified facilities in the Moscow region from December 2018 until the time of his August 2020 detention. Feiss pleaded not guilty to the charges, which are punishable by a maximum of 8 years in jail. You know what? Explore away. I feel like we can all agree sharing Russian state secrets is cool. They probably know all our secrets anyways. I feel like social media is 50% just Russian bots these days. Kangwa Ren, who goes by Reset, wanted to get some easy internet points by filming a prank video. His brilliant idea was to fill an Oreo with toothpaste and feed it to someone. Bro probably didn't think he'd end up in jail for it. A Spanish YouTuber who filmed himself giving toothpaste-filled Oreos to a homeless man as a prank has been fined 20,000 euros? Pounds? Pounds or euros? Hey Google, what's the euro symbol? Oreos to a homeless man as a prank has been fined 20,000 euros, 18,000 pounds, and sentenced to 15 months in prison. Apparently the man later vomited. He was ordered to stop posting videos, but he continued to do so before his channel was taken down. The chemical goo that is the middle of an Oreo is probably no better than toothpaste. At least with toothpaste, you get some fresh breath after. Don't get me wrong, it's a cruel thing to do. It's never acceptable to lie about what you're feeding to someone. When defending himself in court, the prankster reportedly said, "I do things to mount a show. People like what is morbid." Oh, okay, it was just a show. That makes it okay. In my last video, I told you that I would respond to every comment left below, and y'all came through leaving me a whole bunch of comments, and I lived up to my promise and went through all of them and replied. So I'm gonna do it again in this video, so leave a comment about literally anything below and I will respond to it. You left some great comments ranging from this to things like this. Honestly, I loved it. I am legally obligated to respond now after saying that, and if I don't, I will probably get arrested like the YouTubers in this video. Also, be sure to like it. It really helps out a small channel like mine. You just know it's going to be a high quality channel when it's called Troll Station. Is there any combination of two words that's worse than prank and channel? Troll Station is a prank channel if you couldn't figure that out. And if you watched my last video, you know how I feel about those. But to sum it all up quickly, they're just lazy trash that people do when they have no original ideas. Their brilliant idea for a prank was to pretend they were robbing paintings from a museum. They put on ski masks and went into a museum with some paintings in their hands and then started screaming, get the paintings," over and over again while an alarm played.
I've got a paintings! You got a paintings! Alpha! No, it's this! Grab the painting! Come on! Please!
Okay, you already had the paintings in the hand. Why are you yelling, get the paintings? What paintings are you referring to? I don't think a thief would say that. They thought they would get away with this one, but it's so obviously a crime, and they did it in broad daylight in front of cameras, in front of security. There's no chance they were getting away with this. And then they posted the video online, so it's just evidence on top of evidence. Apparently, one woman passed out as dozens of terrified art lovers fled from the Wolfston Gallery during this stunt. This is just dangerous. You can see all the people running out in a panic. Someone could easily get trampled and die. It happens in those kind of situations. The group was jailed for between 16 and 20 weeks, and honestly, it probably should be more. Just keep them in prison forever, and then we won't have to suffer with these prank channels anymore. Vitalis TV. We got another prank channel here, and I really wish YouTube would just ban these types of channels and keep them on the horrible realm that is TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram instead. He's created such wonderful videos like, "Are you checking out my girlfriend?" and "Farting on strangers" prank. And he went too far and decided to climb the Pyramid of Giza, which is illegal. Egypt's parliament made it illegal last year for anyone to climb any antiquity without obtaining a license. The penalty for doing so can be up to a month in jail and or a fine ranging from 10,000 to 100,000 Egyptian pounds. 630 American dollars to 6,300. Even though I've been in jail around the world many times for my previous stunts, this one has to be the most horrible experience of my life. You did this to yourself, dude. I don't feel bad for you. Yeah, he says it was for charity, but if it really was, you probably could have gotten permission from the government. You didn't have to go and do this yourself. It seems like he stopped posting videos for a long time until just 4 months ago when he started posting again. And it seems his content is pretty much the same as it used to be, unfortunately. Rusty Cage and his epic tale of a stolen slushy machine. I hadn't really seen any of his videos before making this, but taking a look, he seems like a decent YouTuber. He has 1.7 million subscribers, but hasn't posted a video in 8 months. His absolutely despicable, horrible crime was attempting to steal a slushy machine as a teenager.
And people who steal from individuals, community members, and local organizations are absolutely abhorrent.
He told this story in a series of humorous videos, and he thought he'd get away with it too, but he was wrong. He and his goons were arrested and even spent a night in jail. He was ordered to house arrest during the duration of the trial. He even credits this time in isolation as helping him towards his future career in music and YouTube. Honestly, I really enjoyed researching this guy. His video series on this was really good. If you haven't seen it, I'd recommend checking it out. Dylan Birch was a wannabe YouTuber with no natural talent, so he went down the route of prank videos as we've seen before. He called it a social experiment to give himself some prestige, I suppose. He's the Christopher Nolan of prank videos. One day he decided to go to Disney World for a nice little vacation. That's when this happened. Erin Taylor was taking a stroll in the sand along the water at Disney's Contemporary Resort in Orlando when a young man rushed up to her with terrifying news. The resort was in a state of emergency, he said. She needed to evacuate immediately. There was an active shooter on the property. She started to panic, but then he said, "Oh no, it's just a prank, bro. I've been going around scaring people and recording their reactions as an experiment for YouTube." Oh, an experiment. So what is this experiment evaluating? Did you have a hypothesis and a control group? Or were you just trying to see if people are scared of getting killed? We already know the answer to that. You didn't need to do this experiment. Apparently he's played Assassin's Creed because when the cops came, he hid in the bushes. Unfortunately, this is real life and he was arrested by the Orange County Sheriff's Department, where he pled guilty and spent 3 nights in jail. Next up, we have Tana Mongeau. Now, this is a name I've heard, but I've never seen or watched any of her videos. And looking at her page, it's just not the kind of stuff I'm into, so that makes sense. So apparently, while she was at Coachella, she got a little too into the party and ended up getting arrested for underage drinking. This is Coachella we're talking about. There's people doing a lot worse things than just drinking. And I'm not advocating for underage drinking, but compared to some of the crimes that are coming up later in the series, this is nothing. Tana was arrested and charged with possession of alcohol and underage drinking, despite insisting that she was completely sober.
And I just want to state, at this point, this entire day, in this very moment, I was dead sober. Not a sip of alcohol.
Completely sober? Yeah, I don't think anyone's ever been completely sober at Coachella. Even just breathing the air gets you intoxicated. What she did was not all that bad, and honestly, not a big deal. Brandon Carter is a fitness YouTuber that I'm not really familiar with. Just take one look at me. Clearly, I do not watch fitness influencers. His charge was failing to comply with a lawful order, also known as resisting arrest. What he did here could almost be called a prank, but I'll give him the benefit of a doubt because it was with a willing participant who was in on it. He organized it with another fitness influencer named Connor Murphy. The prank video, or whatever they were trying to do, was that they would pretend to fight each other, and right before they hit each other, they would break out into a dance in the middle of a busy street. The problem was this was a party street on a busy night, and of course where people are drinking, there will be cops around, and they saw these guys about to square up, and just as they were about to break into a dance, the cops tackled him to the ground. Now, it mostly looks like he's complying, so I'm not really sure where this charge came from. While the whole thing is kind of cringe, it's not really a big deal. I don't see how it's truly a crime, but whatever. Princey. For this one, don't get me wrong, it's a horrible thing to do, but you almost have to respect the commitment to this one. This prank was done by Princey, and he does the style of content I call being a dick to strangers. It's the most uncreative content on the platform. This one involved pretending to pass out in Times Square. A man was arrested Thursday afternoon after pretending to be passed out inside his vehicle in Times Square. He appeared to be having some sort of medical emergency, seemingly unconscious in the driver's seat of his car as the car horn was going off the whole time, according to police sources. The second the police started hammering on the windows, I would have flinched so hard it would have been given away. And when they started grabbing me, I would have burst out laughing. I don't think I could have held it in. The worst part about this prank is that both the fire department and ambulances arrived on the scene, which means if there was a fire or medical emergency elsewhere in the city, they can't go. They're helping this idiot instead. And let's face it, it's New York City. At any given moment of the day, there's someone getting shot or stabbed. New Yorkers will say it's the best city in the world while dodging piles of needles and piss in the subway. Just Just kidding, New Yorkers. I've never been there. Let me know what it's actually like. He ended up getting charged with making a false report and obstructing governmental administration, but he went right back to making videos. Cameron Dallas inexplicably became famous from Vine and YouTube. He's also appeared in a couple of movies and shows that look so awful, I wouldn't even watch them as a joke. He's an interesting case because he's actually committed multiple crimes, so he might also appear in the next tier. This first crime though belongs here. He committed the crime of vandalism. This report comes from TMZ, so you know it's high quality journalism. Law enforcement sources tell TMZ cops were called to Dallas's Hollywood pad Wednesday afternoon after neighbors complained about loud partying. When the cops arrived, all was quiet and no one answered the door, so they left. Good police work there. Fast forward to 6 p.m., cops were called again after someone hurled a paint can out of Dallas's 6th floor window, nearly hitting a woman below. After the police came back, they discovered that the entire apartment that he rented was covered completely in paint, as well as some of the hallway. He was arrested for vandalism and he was held on $20,000 bail, but was later released because, you know, money equals freedom. White Boy Sevenths, or Alexander Watch, is a YouTuber and Twitch streamer who was arrested on possession of a controlled substance. This one is kind of a crazy situation because it happened on live stream. What happened was, while streaming, he was swatted, and most of you probably know what swatting is, but for those who don't know, it's when you call the police saying that there's a dangerous person at the target's address in hope of getting the SWAT team to storm into their home. It's extremely dangerous and stupid. The SWAT team showed up at his house and discovered that there was no threat, but unfortunately he had 30 grams of weed in his house, which is illegal where he lived. If the police wrongfully barge into your house, you should get automatically immunity for things like this. They charged him with intent to deliver. Like, come on, 30 grams is not even that much. Luckily, the charges on him were dropped due to the unique circumstances of his arrest. They said that evidence would not have survived a motion to suppress. Nelk is a prank channel. I'm starting to see a pattern here. It's starting to seem like harassing the public for views is not the best idea. In their first run-in with the law, the Nelk boys were warned by the LAPD after one of their pranks. Coke Prank on Cops video generated more than 23 million views in January 2015. The prank wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. They asked people if they wanted Coke, insinuating that it was the kind you get arrested for, before revealing it was Coca-Cola. But it would get worse. One of the Nelk boys, Jesse Sebastiani, got himself arrested for cosplaying Dexter. He walked into a bookstore wearing a painter's jumpsuit covered in fake blood. He went up to an employee and asked if there were any books that told you how to cover up a crime. Rightfully freaked out, one bystander called the police on him. He was arrested, charged, and found guilty of disorderly conduct. As far as pranks go, this one is not the worst. At least nobody was hurt in it. Later in the series, we will see a prank that goes horribly wrong and actually gets somebody arrested. Ice Poseidon is a controversial YouTuber and streamer who has had many run-ins with the law. He does IRL, or in real life streams, where he goes out into the public and broadcasts it to the world. The problem is when everyone knows where you are, it's easily to call the authorities with a fake threat. One occasion, he was escorted from an airport for a false threat. All these incidents got him banned from Twitch, so of course he went to Kick. What actually got him arrested was completely unrelated to any of these threats. A pair of live streamers who sparked controversy in recent weeks after they streamed what appeared to be interactions with a hired, naughty worker. Paul Danino, known to fans as Ice Poseidon, and fellow creator Sam Pepper streamed themselves September 22nd, hiring the woman for $500 while on a trip to Brisbane, Australia. Police were notified by a confidential informant and found the location. The pair were arrested but then later released as it was found they did nothing wrong. I put it on this level of the iceberg because they ended up being let free, but if you read into it a bit more, it's pretty messed up and it could even belong on the next level. Chris Hansen. Chris Hansen is known for his TV series To Catch a Predator, but became quite popular on YouTube due to creators covering it, such as Mr. Gigi, who's actually one of my favorite creators. Chris Hansen went on to create his own channel, actually. I like Chris Hansen, so thankfully this isn't one of those ironic crimes where, you know, which could go in a really dark direction. He was arrested for writing bad checks. For my younger viewers, checks are basically a piece of paper that you give to someone which is a promise of giving them money, which they then bring to a bank for the transfer. Hansen turned himself in to the Stamford Police Department in Connecticut after a warrant was issued for his arrest on a felony charge of issuing a bad check, Stamford Sergeant Sean Scanlon said. Apparently, catching predators doesn't pay well. Can we start this man a GoFundMe? This guy's basically a national hero. I really hope he's doing better since then. He hasn't made a video in 7 months, so I'm a little bit worried. That's going to be all for this level of the iceberg. Let me know if I missed any that you think belong in this section. I can put them as honorable mentions at the start of the next video. But thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.